Hello, my friends. I hope that you guys are doing very well. So in today's video, I wanted to tease my husband a little bit. He doesn't know I'm making this video, though it's possible he hears me upstairs. But this video is 3 words that my husband, a native English speaker from the United States, does not pronounce correctly. And the reason for making this video isn't to poke fun at my husband, it's to show you guys that even native English speakers make mistakes. So if you catch yourself making a mistake, forgive yourself, learn the correct pronunciation, and move on, but it's not the end of the world. So the first word that my husband does not say correctly is the name of this. So what is this? This is a hamster wearing a Santa Claus hat, but it's a hamster, right? And just the other day, we were in our daughter's room, and my husband is saying to her, hamster, hamster. And I said, why are you saying hamster? And he said, so that she can learn to pronounce it correctly. And I said, you know it's not a hamster, it's a hamster, no P. And he actually did not believe me. His whole life, he thought that this was a hamster with a P. So why did he think this in the first place? Well, my friends, it all has to do with coarticulation. So when we're saying hamster, right between that M and S, our vocal folds go from vibrating to no longer vibrating because the M is voiced and the S sound is not voiced. And so it's conceivable that right in that borderline area between the M and the S, if someone's lips release air, but the vocal folds are off because they've turned off in preparation for the S, then it won't sound like hamster, it'll sound like hamster. Hamster. You're accidentally inserting a sound right there just because of those few milliseconds in which your vocal folds are off, and then the M ends up sounding like a P. So I looked up the word hamster for him on Google and I showed him, look, it's a hamster, not a hamster. And he still didn't really believe me. And so he Googled it, he looked it up, and in fact, many people think, many native speakers think that a hamster is a hamster exactly for this reason, because their ears have heard that P sound, and so they just assume from a young age that it's a hamster and not a hamster. The next word that my husband doesn't pronounce correctly rhymes with coral. So it's Temporal. Just kidding, that's a lie. So my husband pronounces it as if it rhymes with coral. So he says temporal, temporal, like coral. But as we know, English is not phonetic, and just because something should make sense, that doesn't mean that that's going to be the case. So we don't say temporal, we say temporal, temporal. And if you think why he doesn't know this word, it's because it's a very esoteric, very specific word that never comes up in our daily life. But in my profession, temporal, like temporal processing, is very much a word that I use and that I engage with. So to me, it's very clearly, obviously, temporal, but if this is a word that you've never heard, even if you're a native English speaker, you may be inclined to make an educated guess like temporal, and that may turn out to be wrong. And then the third word that my husband does not pronounce correctly, actually, I want you guys to hazard a guess. So I'm going to spell the word for you and show it up on the screen. It's Peabody. So what's your guess? How do you think this is pronounced? And this, by the way, is the name of a city in Massachusetts. So the way that my husband was pronouncing it was very logical. It was the word P-E-A, and the word body, B-O-D-Y, combined together. So he said it's pronounced Peabody. But in fact, this came up because I had pronounced it as Peabody, and he said, what are you talking about? That's not Peabody, it's Peabody. And we kind of had a bit of a back and forth, and I was pretty insistent, but he was more insistent, and he's from New England, so I thought, okay, he obviously knows better than me, right? Wrong. So later that day or the next day, I don't quite remember, we were hanging out with a friend of ours who's from Massachusetts, and I said Peabody, just like my husband instructed me to, and our friend said, actually, Vicky, it's pronounced Peabody. And I was like, oh, he led me astray. But in actuality, like, there's no way to know that it's Peabody and not Peabody unless you're from the area and unless you've heard people saying it, because again, we know that English just isn't phonetic and it doesn't always make sense. So I forgave him. All right, my friends, so hamster, temporal, and Peabody. Those are the 3 words that my native English-speaking husband did not know how to pronounce correctly. And so next time you find yourself making a mistake regarding English pronunciation, I want you to forgive yourself and move on, because as you can see, because English isn't phonetic, even native English speakers make mistakes. Well, that's all for today's video, you guys. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you next week. Bye.